And I don't make any mistake. All right, get along. Nobody in this room is guaranteed playoff games. And as we know as officials, nobody should be guaranteed playoff games. It's an earned right and privilege of the officials who work the hardest, who progress the fastest, who put themselves in a position to be seen, that should be on the floor. Not because you know somebody, or you know somebody who knows somebody, or you happen to flip a two-headed coin. All right? I don't need to laugh about certain situations, but I will tell you one thing. When it deviates from the facts and the truth, based on what I've said, consistently from the first chapter I spoke with to Houston, Texas, on October the 27th or 28th, or whatever it is, 2009, it's the same message. Next question.
Initially when Dr. Body came down, he said there was only going to be one chapter with a chapter decided if they were going to go with UIL or TASO. UIL was going to recognize that chapter.
Yes.
Now, we have two chapters here. Can you address that situation?
Yes, I will. The UIL and TASO, when the talks and began, after Dr. Biden made his announcement on March the 11th, all right, had what we call an understanding. And it was very clear as to that understanding, contrary to what you may have heard. That message was very clear. It was understood that we would respect any chapter that decided to stay with TASO for whatever the reason, and we would not let anybody in that chapter break away or fragment to start a new chapter. And we didn't. As evident by the number of chapters that I have signed up based on the chapters that decided to stay with TASO. I will let you know right now how many chapters I have signed up under the UL that have broken away to stay with TASO. None. None. You know why? Because it's not good for the game. It's not good for the game. Would I have liked that chapter to sign up with the UL? Yes, I would have. But am I going to compromise the game on behalf of some politics? No, I'm not. And if that chapter, up until today, decided to, in perpetuity, stay with TASO, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. But the facts are the facts. The schools that you get checks from are our UL member schools. They're our UL member schools. They're writing you the checks. The Constitution before today read UL and TASO. Now, that's stricken out starting next year. All right, you couldn't find the word TASO in the Constitution with the Hubble telescope. That's a fact. If some people can't understand the facts, I'm sorry. All right? The other deal is that as these chapters, subchapters started creating, we called TASO. We said, hey, you guys are breaking the agreement. You can't do that. You know what TASO's blanket response was then, and it still is today, and it was before any of that? What do you want us to do? What can we do? Well, tell them they can't register with you. We've told the chapters, I've had lots of calls. You don't think I had calls from chapter members whose chapter stayed with TASO and said, Tony, we want out. We want to join the UIL. You don't think I had phone calls? I had plenty of phone calls. And without question, every one of my answers to them was no. No, guys. You'll either convince your chapter or you will stay. You have to stay because that's best for the game. It's not best for the game for schools to get confused, wondering why do we have two chapters? Why do we have this chapter? Why do we have that chapter? It was never intended to have separate chapters. It was always intended that we stick to what we agreed with. And a man's word is a man's word. All right? I don't get into a lot of contracts, although I have an attorney deal. All right? I don't get into a lot of contracts. You tell a person this is what it is, then that's what it is. And what right, all right, and how powerful do you have to be to deny an application that comes to you, all right, that goes against what was agreed upon? It's pretty simple to deny. I know it was for me. I had the calls, and the people asked me, and I said, no, you cannot join. All right? So in the separate chapter here in Houston, just created their own chapter, all right, under their own pretense. All right? You're darn right. I said they're not recognized. They're not recognized. Can school use them? Yes, they can. Did I strong-arm any schools? No, I didn't. Strong-arm nothing. They facts. If facts are strong-arming, then, hey, whatever. I strong-arm them. But I gave them facts. That's all I did. And they're not recognized. All right? And next year, if those officials want to call the game of basketball, they will have to register with this chapter. Period. They will not be on the floor. You say, well, let's let them on the floor. You can't get on the floor. You know why? All right? The schools understand it. The schools won't let them on the floor. All right? People. This is not a hard process. We as human beings make processes a lot harder than they really are. Okay? The representation that you, and as well as all the other chapters, have not received around the state of Texas in various sports, all right? With notwithstanding, football, without question, just so you know, has done it the best. All right? I will tell you right now that football, in the division of football, has done a lot of things right. TASO has done a lot of things right. If you think you're in this room that TASO hasn't done anything right, you're crazy. TASO's done a multitude of things right. They have helped regress the sport. They've done a lot to add to officiating. But, having said that, there's been a lot of wrong. There's been a lot of stuff that needed change. There's been a lot of stuff that they couldn't apply. They couldn't police. They didn't have the power. Castle's never had the backbone, the spine, all right, or the ability to enforce any of that stuff. 6,000 incident reports in the past 5 years have been filed with the UIL. We have upheld 94% of all coaches' ejections. 94% across the board. Now, you're going to sit here and tell me that 94% of the time that we get on the floor, we're right. We don't want to let the coaches know. All right? There's that naive and stupid again. No, we're not. We're not right 94% of the time. I'm not right. I'm not going to speak on y'all's behalf. I'm not right 94% of the time. And I've been fortunate enough to have a pretty successful career, but I'm not right 94% of the time. Bill, are you right 94% of the time on the basketball floor?
Of course.
Okay, 93%. And you know I had to ask Bill that. You know I had to ask Bill that.
You asked the wrong person.
But the fact of the matter is we've upheld officials 94% of the time. Since 1915, the UIL Constitution has read this. The decision of the officials is final. That is not going to change. Your decisions are final. Your decisions have to be final to uphold the integrity of the game. All right? It doesn't need to go to a committee, or an all-sports committee, or a committee of the subcommittee, or a committee of the subcommittee who knows the right good old boys of the committee. I can't stand committees unless they serve a purpose. If they serve a purpose, they're valued, and they need to be in place. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
Good question. As far as playoffs, are the coaches still going to have the ability to pick officials amongst themselves and not go through you?
Great question. Next question.
And also, you mentioned the pay scales across the state, but you made it sound like, are we still getting an increase in Houston? I mean, you said some places are getting big bump, but since we already were in pretty good shape, are we going up or down?
Good question. Two great questions. Appreciate the questions. Number one, am I going to affect the playoff system any more than what it is currently? Absolutely not. If the coaches like the Houston chapter, they want to go to each other, they're calling you guys. They don't call me until they disagree. When they disagree, I sign. Which is exactly what's happening. Nothing's changing. There's not one change coming about because I've been the director of officials in the state of Texas that was different than last year. It's all the same. If the coaches want a Houston chapter, they better not call me. All right? They better call your assignment secretary and request officials, and they'll do it the same way. Why would I want to get involved in a situation where you guys know who the best officials are? Your coaches know who the best officials are. Where I have to get involved, once again, unfortunately or fortunately, is when your coach and the other coach don't agree who the best officials are in the Houston area. That's where I've got to get involved. Okay? Now, second part of the question? Money. I can't speak on behalf of Houston. I've talked to James. We've had lengthy discussions. The problem that 1204 created and the ambiguity that it provided was the fact that Houston could do what it felt like was best for Houston. Right? And for whatever the situations, right, if the superintendents felt like they could afford it, they could agree to it. Now, it went against what 1204 was. And it went against what the integrity of 1204 needed to represent. And that was the fact. We can't go speeding down a highway at 85 miles an hour when the speed limit says 55 and say it's legal because I ain't got caught. And then try to argue to the cop when he stops us doing 85, I've been doing this for 3 years and nobody said anything to me. So what? Breaking the law is breaking the law. And the fact of the matter is that y'all have, because of your crowds, because of your populations, because of a lot of different stuff, y'all been afforded some of the highest fee skills, negotiated fees, in the state. And that's a great thing. We didn't take that away. Every official now, whether you're calling 2-man or 3-man, will get $55 a game. $55 a game. If you travel more than 150 miles in a regular season, each official will get an additional $15 for a meal. I know it doesn't apply to a lot of officials in this because of the metro. There is a metro plan established now. Any school within that 20-mile point of what an assigned mapping website will assign so that all sports are the same. Not football doing one thing, basketball signing a point over here, baseball signing a point over here, all that sort of thing. The point will be the same point for all officiating chapters in that area. Anything within that 20-mile distance, as the crow flies, that's the only way I know how to say it, as the crow flies to that school will get $12 reimbursement. Politically correct.